please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
In an unprecedented move, 64 sitting members of Parliament have signed a motion to impeach the Chief Justice of India, Dipak Misra. The Congress, along with 6 other parties, moved a motion to remove the Chief Justice. This move comes a day after a bench led by Chief Justice Misra ruled out any foul play in the death of Judge B.H. Loya, who was hearing the Sohrabuddin Shah fake encounter case. BJP President Amit Shah is an accused in the case. But the Congress party has made it clear that this case has nothing to do with the decision to move the impeachment motion. In fact, late Judge Loya's matter is not listed as one of the 5 charges against the Chief Justice in the impeachment motion. The 7 political parties say moving the motion is the only recourse to remedy the situation. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has hit back at the Congress party. In a post on social media, Jaitley has said, and I quote, "It is a revenge petition after the falsehood of the Congress party has been established in the Justice Loya death case. It is an attempt to intimidate a judge and send a message to other judges that if you don't agree with us, 50 MPs are enough for a revenge action." End of quote. We've got a power-packed panel of legal luminaries on the show. But first up, a quick snapshot of what has been a dramatic day in the history of India's political and judicial history.
We have moved a motion for impeachment for the removal of Chief Justice of India.
The first charge relates to the conspiracy to pay illegal gratifications.
They want to put pressure on the judiciary.
Common people have the lost faith in judiciary, but judiciary is in crisis.
हम इतना ही कहना चाहेंगे कांग्रेस वालों को, यानी ये चेष्टा नहीं करना चाहिए।
ये हमारे देश के लिए कितना अच्छा है, कितना अच्छा नहीं है, इस पे लोग अवश्य विचार करेंगे।
So what are the specific charges levelled by the 64 MPs against the Chief Justice? Ashmit Kumar is standing by with just that. Ashmit, detail for us the 5 charges.
Right, so an impeachment motion is under consideration. Mind you, there are only 2 grounds for impeaching a judge. One is incapacity, which is not in question here. The second question is proved misbehavior. Now, to manifest that point of proved misbehavior, we have 5 very severe charges being levelled against the Chief Justice of India under this impeachment motion. Let's quickly take our viewers through them. The first one pertains to the Prasad Education Trust case. This was a case that was heard briefly by the Chief himself. The question also arose by way of a CBI investigation where they cornered individuals that were seeking bribes, essentially citing proximity to the Chief himself. So essentially the charge being levelled here is that the facts and circumstances show a prima facie evidence suggesting that the CJI might have been involved in a conspiracy by persons associated with the Prasad Education Trust for payment of illegal gratification. So that's the first serious charge being levelled. Let's take a look at the other charge, the second one, and this is a follow-up charge essentially. Keep in mind that there was a plea that was filed before the Apex Court that sought an independent probe regarding that very same case, regarding the very same charges of seeking of illegal gratification. And the charge here essentially is the way CJI dealt with the matter on both the judicial side as well as the administrative side with respect to this petition. And that is what created more questions than answers. That's the second charge being pulled here as far as the Chief Justice is concerned. Let's look at the third charge that has now been levelled. The CJI appears to have antedated administrative orders. Again, a very serious questions of forgery being levelled against none other than the Chief himself. So that makes up the third charge. As far as the fourth question that is raised, and this is quite serious as well, it talks about, it goes back very many years when the Chief was an advocate in the Odisha High Court. The charge being levelled here is that the CJI acquired land when he was an advocate in Odisha High Court, mind you, by giving an affidavit, a false affidavit that was found to be false. That's essentially the charge being levelled. The second part of that charge is that despite allotment and cancellation of orders in 1985, he surrendered that land only in 2012 when he was elevated to the Apex Court. That's the fourth charge. charge. And the fifth one, of course, is critical. It is more contemporary. It's the charge we've heard of more recently, that the CJI is arbitrarily assigning cases, politically sensitive cases, to select judges. Keep in mind that the January press conference that we had, where we had 4 judges of the Apex Court coming out in the open, they made a direct reference to this practice of preferential treatment of cases, preferential treatment of assignment of cases. In fact, very recently, Justice Chalameshwar also said that the Jai Lalita DA case was a classic example of how cases were being assigned to preferred benches. So clearly, some very, very strong charges being leveled. Of course, the ball now rests in the court of the Rajya Sabha chairman to decide whether or not to allow the impeachment motion.
Ashmit, appreciate you joining us. 5 charges there as part of the impeachment motion moved by the 64 MPs against the Chief Justice of India. Joining me to take this conversation forward, Soli Sarabji, former Attorney General, Bishwajit Bhattacharya, former Additional Solicitor General, as well as Justice Z.U. Khan, former Judge of the Allahabad High Court. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here. Mr. Sarabji, let me start by asking you, sir, and I'm quoting to you what the press release put out by the 7 parties say. When the judges of the Supreme Court themselves believe that the judiciary's independence is under threat and democracy is in peril, alluding to the functioning of the office of the Chief Justice of India, should the nation stand still and do nothing? You heard the 5 charges that are the basis for this impeachment proceedings. Do you believe that this was the action of last resort? Do you believe that there was no other recourse for these political parties or for the 4 judges who have raised this matter 4 months ago but to go public with their grievance and to now move this impeachment motion?
No, I don't think so. Even the grievances of the 4 judges, when they had the press conference, was about allocating cases to junior judges and not to senior judges on the assumption that they should be getting the allocation of cases. That's not true misbehavior. I don't understand this. By the way, please appreciate the impeachment motion against the Chief Justice really affects the confidence of the public in the free and fair administration of justice by a higher judiciary. There are other ways of doing it. You can't break up things of 20 years past. I'm afraid, to my mind, there seems to be the Congress wants to just have temporary political gains, not realizing the consequences of that move. And I must compliment, if I'm correct, I must compliment Manmohan Singh.
Yes, Manmohan Singh is not a signatory to this. Would you agree then with the finance minister? He says that this is a revenge action. He calls this revenge by the Congress party because they didn't like the judgment that was delivered in the Judge Lawyer matter, even though the Congress says this has nothing to do with that judgment, and they had actually started getting the signatures from MPs when Parliament was in session, even before the judgment was delivered. But the finance minister categorically stating that this is a revenge impeachment process.
Well, that's his expression. In a way, I agree with him. But the point I'm making, Shereen, is more important. The point I'm making is confidence of the people rests in the judiciary. That should not be affected. And even if you say that what the 4 judges say is correct, that's not proved misbehavior. That made their impression that we should get the cases by the Chief Justice giving cases to us. To my mind, it seems to be an attempt to tell the judges that if you don't pass orders which we think are correct, which are to our liking, we will embarrass you, we will humiliate you. Because it's very clear they haven't got the numbers. They won't succeed in getting the impeachment motion. Then what's the idea? The idea is to send the message that be careful, don't pass orders which we think are bizarre or incorrect, otherwise you will have to face an impeachment motion and the humiliation and embarrassment which follows therefrom. I'm very much against that. I'm very disturbed that this should happen in our country.
You're saying you're disturbed that this has been done to embarrass and humiliate the Chief Justice. In fact, you're also calling this a means of intimidation, which is exactly what the finance minister has also said. He said that these are intimidatory tactics on whether you have a case of proven misconduct or numbers on your side. This is a serious threat to judicial independence. Would you agree that this now puts the judiciary in a crisis of confidence?
Well, it does in a way. It's trying to browbeat the judiciary, no question about it. And that's the reason I've just mentioned that Manmohan Singh and Salman Khurshid, they realize the implication of this. Don't go by the Congress just wants, I'm afraid, temporary political gains without realizing the serious consequences it has on the institution itself and on the public's perception of the judiciary. That's unfortunate, very unfortunate.
But Mr. Sorabji, do you see no merit at all in those 5 charges that have been put forward by these 7 political parties in the impeachment motion? Do you believe that there is no merit in those charges?
Well, I'm not here to go into the merit or not the merit. My point is, even if there is something in those charges, impeachment motion is not the right remedy. There may be other cases. Bar associations are known to hold meetings criticizing a judge of the Supreme Court or the Chief Justice. The other recourses, not the impeachment motion, is a remedy of last resort. You're trying to remove a judge and avoid the security of tenure. So it must be on a solid, concrete basis, not on merely implications and insinuations and surmises.
Justice Chalameshwar also suggested Justice Chalameshwar also said that impeachment is not the answer to every problem. But if I go back again to the press conference and what has been stated today, they're saying we were hoping that the anguish of the judges as reflected in their statements to the press would be addressed by the Chief Justice, and the Chief Justice in response would set his house in order. More than 3 months have passed, nothing has changed. So if you're saying that there were other ways of being able to address these issues or these questions and not impeachment, what could have been done? It seems like the impasse continues.
Well, impeachment is not the answer. Impeachment is not the remedy for this. As I told you, there are bar associations that are very active. They can move resolutions. Then can be other fora which can be done. Because this really gives the impression you're really trying to browbeat the judges. It's very clear, to my mind.
Okay. Mr. Khan, let me ask you, sir, you just heard Soli Sorabji saying that this sends out the message that politicians or the executive, if the matter were to be pushed forward by somebody in power, that this is a tactic of intimidation. It's being done to browbeat judges. It actually interferes with the judicial process itself and judicial independence. What do you make of this, and has it now caused irreparable damage to the judiciary?
In fact, there are 2 angles to judge these matters, because one is constitutional thing, other is that are political. Constitutional matter says that the member of parliament has got power. If they are not satisfied, and they feel aggrieved, if they say that some injustice has been done or something has been going wrong, then they can bring the motion. And they have rightly moved the infraction, or whether it was a nice move or bona fide move or something like that will be cleared afterwards. But only thing is that they had exercised their power, but the
under the Constitution, sure.
Under the Constitution.
Yeah.
The other thing is that political. And is the political, why political will be angry with? Only thing that Judge Loya's case judgment is against them. Is not they are not that the judgment is not against them, but the judgment is a public interest litigation. It was not a very important thing. It was only mysterious things that has to be investigated. They say that the Chief Justice said that no, not to be investigated, and he has given a recent judgment. And the other 2 judges are very nice judges, and one of them I know is a very nice judge, one of the best judges in the Supreme Court, Dr. Chanchud, and he gave the very good judgment. So it cannot be said that intentionally something has gone wrong. But only thing is that mere that he is a Chief Justice and other persons are involved, you can't say anything. Because there are 5 charges, and this charge has not been leveled against him.
Okay. 5 charges and proved misbehavior, incapacity, but neither proved misbehavior or incapacity have been defined, even though constitutionally these members of parliament do have a right to move the impeachment motion. Vishwadit Bhattacharya, what happens from here on now? The motion has been moved. It is up to the chair of the Rajya Sabha to take a call on whether he agrees, doesn't agree, initiates the process or doesn't initiate the process. Up until then, what happens?
You see, Shereen, this is a constitutional process under Article 124, subclause 4 of the Constitution of India. Now, it is now up to the Vice President to take a call whether to admit it or to reject it. If the Vice President rejects, the matter is closed.
Right.
Then the impeachment fails right on the threshold.
Right.
Now, I can tell you one thing. The process of impeachment, as per the Judges Inquiry Act of 1968, says prove misbehavior or incapacity, then it has to be inquired into by a committee.
Right.
Now, which will inquire into it with 2/3 of the members of parliament present and voting each house and majority of the members. Impeachment ultimately will not take place.
Will not take place, as Mr. Sarabji said, they don't have the numbers.
Besides, it is a time-consuming process. The Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Dipak Misra, retires on 1st of October. Now, even taking into account the worst case, scenario for or against the Honorable the Chief Justice, I don't think he's going to be impeached. But, you know, since these 5 charges have been sort of leveled, and the entire entire country has seen these, charges. You know, like Prasad Education Trust and, you know, this roster distribution.
The administrative issues, yes.
And, you know, in his capacity as a lawyer before, you see, ultimately, this will linger on in the minds of people. So I personally feel the political parties, in their own wisdom, have initiated this. I am not going to question, and as Justice Chalameshwar himself has stated, impeachment is not the solution. There is a larger issue here. May I just, 1 minute. There is a larger issue here, which people are forgetting. The issue is the independence of the judiciary, independence of the Supreme Court, the institutional integrity of the Supreme Court. So it is not Chief Justice versus other judges. I am convinced all the judges are standing solid, united as an institution. The issue is larger.
So the issue is between the executive and the judiciary.
That's right.
That is what you're talking about. Soli Sarabji, let me ask you, sir, do you believe that this is not about the Chief Justice of India versus his brother judges? This is really a matter of the executive trying to exert influence and interfere in the workings of the judiciary. This is actually a battle between the executive and the judiciary that's playing out today.
Yes, in a way that's correct. That is so. But the whole question is, in any case, you have attacked the Chief Justice by this method, and what do you expect him to do? Will he sit at home while the impeachment motion is pending? Of course, if the Vice President says no, then the end of the matter. But then what happens? Then will he decide other cases or not decide other cases, he'll sit at home? You see, the whole thing this has done, it has affected the confidence of the people in the independence of the judiciary. That's what I find very disturbing. After all, they know they're not going to get the numbers are not on their side. Then why? What's the purpose? Purpose is to embarrass, to humiliate. That I don't agree with at all.
Mr. Sarabji, just to understand, sir, because as you pointed out, you know, what does he do? Does he sit at home? I mean, what is the process going to be? Because we don't know when the ruling will come in from the chairman of the Rajya Sabha on whether this is rejected or accepted. But up until then, you know, is it going to be business as usual as far as the Chief Justice is concerned?
Well, the Bar Associations can move resolutions if they feel like it. There are very independent bar associations in the country, and they've in the past done that. They've moved resolutions criticizing the conduct of a Supreme Court judge or even the Chief Justice. But this method is not the one which is the correct method. I think it will do more harm than good, and it will only for temporary political gains. I'm afraid the Congress Party, some members of the Congress Party have done it without realizing the ultimate implications of the move. And as I again say, I congratulate, rather I appreciate the stand taken by Manmohan Singh and Salman Khurshid belonging to the Congress party, but they realize the implications of this move and they're not a party to this impeachment motion.
Would you say, Mr. Sarabji, that this is one of the darkest days that you've witnessed in your career, sir? You've seen many ups and downs in our judicial history. Would you say that this is one of the lowest points, one of the darkest days that we've seen in our judicial history?
Well, darkest day, no, but it's one of the most disappointing days. I didn't expect that I would live so stretched so many years in the profession of law and then realize that a move like this can be initiated against the Chief Justice of India for some food misbehavior for certain cases in which I find no substance. But that's not for me to go into the merits. What I'm trying to say is, don't please go this further, resolve it, because in our country the main thing is the people's confidence which is shortly affected, and this is bound to affect that confidence. And that is what I find very disturbing.
Let me end then by asking you, one of the most disappointing days that you've seen, Mr. Khan, in your career?
Yeah, in fact, this is one of the most important and most disappointing day, because I never expected that a person like Chief Justice be hooted like that. And the fundamental principle of justice is that it should be done in that manner, that it should not be done only, but it seems to have done. That there are something that was cooking outside, and there was something boiling inside, and that's why the matter cropped up, and the matter reached to this extent. And there are certain faults on the part of other persons also, and the few judges also, because the dispute arose between the family of the judges. The judges themselves initiated the matter.
Yeah.
They have themselves resolved the matter, and that's why when they did not resolve the matter, then when it came outside, and
so the politicization has happened because there was because things didn't work out within the judiciary itself. I'll end by asking you, Mr. Bhattacharya, one of the most disappointing days that you've seen?
Yes, it is somewhat disappointing, but it had to happen. The manner in which the government is attempting to treat the union judiciary, I think...
So you hold the government responsible for the path that we're at today?
You see, the appointment of judges have been stalled. Nothing is being done. Calcutta High Court is functioning at, 40% of the capacity. This entire judicial structure is being ruined, and who is responsible for this? So this had to happen. I'm sad about it. I'm sad in the sense that this political process, this constitutional process which has been triggered and initiated, this could have been avoided. But once it has been started, now all eyes on the Vice President of India. I only would implore upon all the constitutional authorities to expedite whatever they wish to do in a transparent manner.
In a transparent manner. Well, gentlemen, appreciate you joining us. But before we go, one of the senior-most legal minds in India, Ram Jethmalani, has thrown his weight behind Chief Justice Misra. Speaking with us, he said he does not believe the charges that have been made against the Chief Justice, and has also called the impeachment motion a propaganda by those who have ignorance of the law.
I don't believe any one of the allegations that are being made, and they are talking of 5 attempts against them. There is not even one.
Why do you say that there is not even one?
One means why I say is, now, first of all, let me tell you that the persons who have initiated all this mischievous propaganda against the poor Chief Justice are persons who do not know the law at all. And I'm very serious about this assertion of mine. They don't know the law, or they know the law and they have completely ignored it.
You think Kapil Sibal would deliberately present a case which is not strong? In law, he also happens to be a lawyer, sir.
That seems to be the real state of affairs. I mean, I can't understand any responsible lawyer doing a thing like this. And I am surprised that this has happened. And I am already getting signals that their unity is breaking.
Yeah, that within the Congress there are 2 clear-cut views. It appears that the likes of Mr. Chidambaram who himself is a lawyer, he doesn't want to be a part of this petition. And Kapil Sibal is of the view that those people who have cases against them or those who may end up facing embarrassment at the hands of the Supreme Court are not a part of this. Does this defeat this entire process of moving an impeachment motion
Not at all,
itself?
but first of all, they do not even know the provisions of the Constitution which apply to the removal of a person like this.
But sir, look at where this case really stands. The truth is, and this is again being repeated by Ghulam Nabi Azad and Kapil Sibal, that 4 learned judges of the Supreme Court themselves came out in public domain to question the manner in which Chief Justice was conducting proceedings. Is that not ground enough for this impeachment motion to be moved?
The 4 justices are wholly wrong. They should never have created this kind of a public mischief, and this matter should have been resolved in private conferences with them, or they should have called some leaders of the bar, sat with them and chalked out things. This is not the way to go to the press, make statements, and as if the Chief Justice is some kind of a criminal. This is ridiculous. I mean, I know this Chief Justice. I appeared before him. I have much more respect for him than for many others.
So do you think that this is actually not about the Chief Justice? Is it about settling political scores with Prime Minister Modi?
Of course.
Is it to embarrass the BJP?
Of course. Of course.
So the real target is Modi.
I am not saying that this is intended to embarrass the BJP. The BJP requires to be embarrassed on many other counts, including Modi. Well, you know my views about Mr. Modi.
Exactly.
And I have made him the Prime Minister, and now I am very anxious that he should go.
But sir, that aside, you know, the politics aside, look at what Rahul Gandhi himself is saying. Rahul Gandhi wants this country to believe that justice has not been done in the death of Judge Loya. He's saying that Judge Loya's family members believe that all hope is lost. Is all hope lost with the judgment which was delivered yesterday?
A person has to present some credible evidence which at least raises a reasonable suspicion that an offence has been committed. Merely a person saying that I believe this is nothing at all. Has he presented one iota of evidence on which a reasonable person can say that there is a reasonable suspicion that some kind of a foul murder has taken place?
But some family members of Judge Loya were of the view that there should be an investigation.
But there may be a view, but
is that not ground enough?
They may require an investigation in every case. But first of all, law will not surrender to people who make requests which are totally contrary to law. You must have at least some kind of a prima facie case to go by. So where is that evidence?
There is no evidence.
Nothing.
A series of 22 stories were done by a magazine. A certain circumstantial scenario was created, and it was felt by the likes of Dushyant Dave and Prashant Bhushan and Indira Jaising that should be ground enough for the Supreme Court to order a reinvestigation. You think all this was figment of imagination?
I'm sorry if lawyers think that the Supreme Court should have acted in a particular manner. That is neither here nor there. They should, if they have any courage of their convictions and some knowledge of law, they should present at least that prima facie evidence on which they form such a conclusion. After all, to accuse somebody that you have committed a murder, for example, you require some responsible piece of evidence on which a reasonable person can proceed.